Hey everybody, it's your man James. This is Quinn Treasure back again with some more video action for you. This is another live stream clip out. In fact, it's kind of a long one. Probably, I think, the longest one I have. And I've been sitting on it for a while because I wasn't sure when I'd be able to use it. But leave it to the people in the comic book industry. They'll give you a reason every time if you just give them enough time to do it. And this one is about everyone's favorite, horn rim glasses, biatch, Kelly Sue DeConnick. A lot of comic creators are melting down over the results of the election, and hers was especially egregious here, which I'll show you right here in a second. You get to see this right here. This is Kelly Sue's little rant. She took a message from someone else and put it up here, and you can see from what it says here. I'll if you guys want to take a pause here and read what it all says. But needless to say, it's pretty much typical of what you expect of her. But I just found it interesting because when I was looking over this little video clip I have here for you, it shows you how little she's really changed in all the years. And so even though she's sitting here talking about taking care of people and helping people and all these other things, really, it's right here in this bit right here saying to stay alive, stay alive out of spite if for no other reason. So, I mean, and you'll see that the spite that she has is something that's been there from pretty much the beginning. And that's what you're going to see in this little video clip that I have for you guys that's filled with her spitefulness towards anyone who doesn't think like she does. And it just shows you just how deep this rod has been running in the comic book industry for a long, long time. And like I said, it's just like I said, the recent election results have just spotlighted to me just how bad the rot really is. And so I put this together for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. It's something you've probably seen before a little bit, but you're going to get like the full in-depth view of it. So I hope you get a little something out of this. And I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope, like I said, I hope you get some thought-provoking stuff out of this. Maybe you learn a little something. And if you like it, please drop some likes down there. Help out the algorithms around the place. And if you got any comments yourselves on what she says and what I said and anything else, drop it down there below because I always want to hear what the people got to say. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you don't miss any of the content that is coming out around here on the regular. And if you have subscribed, share out some links and let's bring in some new people because I always like having more around here than not. So again, I thank you all for joining me today, and I hope that you get a little something out of this. And I will be back soon with some more stuff. And until next time, take care.
A little something that probably one of the most infamous video clips that spotlights the mentality I've been talking about in all of these discussions we've had, in this one and in all the previous ones, the mentality that is at the heart of it all. This is what it is right here. This clip, one of the most infamous of all time. Just a quick set. This here, folks, is Kelly Sue DeConnick, one of the biggest SJW feminist bitches you could ever have the misfortune to ever be around. She is exactly, to me, she is one of the keys of what is wrong in the entertainment, if not just comics, but all of the entertainment industry. Her mentalities, the way she thinks, the way she acts, the way she treats consumers, all of it. She is exactly what is wrong with the entertainment industry in general. In general. And you're going to see that in this video clip here. I'm going to play this clip, and I'll take breaks in between to make some commentary, but you're going to see right here.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Right there. Boom. Look at that. We're not even 5 seconds in. We're not even 5 seconds in, and already, she hits you right with that. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my work. Which is odd because 9 times out of 10, her type, when they're talking this, it's not really their work. I mean, they may have wrote the story or drew the art, but the character, the IP, the icon that they're doing, it isn't theirs. It belongs to one of the corporations now, which was formerly belonging to the publisher, which is now owned by that corporation. That is whose work that is. That's whose book that is. Spider-Man isn't yours, bitch. Captain Marvel isn't yours, bitch. Aquaman isn't yours, bitch. Those belong to those companies. That's their work. So what she really says there is, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my employer's products. Ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous.
Kelly Sue DeConnick introduced us to a totally different version of Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel and made the Carol Core happen. She's also the genius writer behind Bitch Planet. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
The superhero comics, at their core, they're built on the foundation of, the strong, big strong heroes go in and help the little guys, the people who are oppressed. Essentially what feminism is about.
Yes, exactly. Right? This is always when people are like, would you please get your politics out of my comic books? I'm like, what comic books are you reading? Where is the apolitical comic book that you're reading? Like, I want to go back to the comic books we were reading in my youth. The 70s, when they were incredibly political and not even...
Incredibly political, but not insulting to the readers. This right here is the chestnut they use. Oh, comics have always been political, except they haven't always been political. Not like this. There may have been morals in there. Don't rob, don't steal, don't, harm others, don't murder people. Maybe a little bit like, hey, don't do things that can harm society at large. Yeah, there are little morals that can be put in there. They've always been there all the time. That's true. So if you mean politics in the broad sense of morality and people, doing moral tales and things like that, yeah, that's always been the case. But has it been so divisively political? Has it been where you would take what was once a well-reasoned, viewpoint, like say, I don't know, immigration, and you say, I'm all for, we need to prevent people from just coming into our country willy-nilly against our laws because we need to know who these people are and what their intentions in coming here is. And we can't do that if they come in here illegally and if they're hiding and if they're taking up jobs that, that they could go to Americans. It hurts, people and it hurts the citizens of America, especially, again, some of the, minority classes who are usually the ones that are hurt most by such things, and we shouldn't do that. So we need a strong border that's protected so that we can, have people come in the right way and not just think they can come in like a revolving door. No open borders with, checkpoints for people to come in the right way. That's a completely legitimate, moderate argument to make. There is nothing in there that is intentionally, racist or xenophobic or anything else that they would call you for that. But yet, today, that type of mentality, let's put that in the mouth of a character like, the Red Skull, for example. Have him say it. And what's the reason for that? Well, to say anybody who would espouse this stuff, well, they're obviously a Nazi, of course. Only a Nazi believes in strong borders. Only a Nazi believes in citizens first in a country. Only a Nazi believes that stuff. We didn't have that before. We didn't have it where you would denigrate entire swaths of people, that way. Politically in comics. They didn't do that then. The only thing is if you were a member of the Klan who says, and they would say the things you expect the Klan to say, I hate black people. Well, yeah, okay, that's political, but guess what? You can find Klan rallies, footage of Klan rallies where that's what they do. But you don't see a lot of guys who are Nazis like the Red Skull trying to say, hey, we just need to protect our borders and have an actual immigration system that lets us know who's coming in and who's going out and things like that so that we don't let in people who could be harmful to the country. You don't have that. There is no Nazis espousing that. But what these people do is they take something that is moderate, something that is reasonable, and they make it seem not so by how they project it from who's projecting it and in what way they're projecting it. And so, yeah, comics have always been political in pushing little moral stories, but they have never attacked entire swaths of their reader base. And that's very new.
Or you go back to the Ditko Spider-Man issues, which was Peter Parker was getting bullied and traumatized at school.
Yes, I'm sorry to break this to you, but Captain America is a social justice warrior. I know.
No, he isn't. Captain America would never stand for having someone canceled because they voted in a way he didn't like. He would never stand for people being told that they're a bigot because they don't want their country to be borderless. He would never go and say, oh, I need to punch that guy in the face because he espoused a view I didn't like. He would never do those things. That's what social justice warriors do. Cap doesn't do that. Captain America stands for, freedom and liberty. He would allow people to say whatever they wanted. And it isn't until they cross the line from word to deed that Captain America gets involved. Again, using the Klan reference. Yeah, they can, if they pay their permits and they get their rally going and they're peaceful about it, Cap ain't going to go in there and beat their asses. He totally disagrees with everything they're going to say. But as long as they're peaceful about it, it's their right to free speech in this nation, which Captain America defends. He's not going to attack them for that. Now, if they go in and say that stuff, and then they go and start to go to a black community in the city and try to kill people, well, now Cap will step in and kick their asses. Because why? Now it's not just about words. Now it's deeds. Captain America fights against evil actions. Not evil thoughts, not evil words, evil actions. And that's the difference. And if he beats you in a fight and you go to jail, well, it's on you. But even then, after it's done, he's finished. He doesn't say, well, now I'm going to follow you around for the rest of your life and make sure you're unemployable, to make sure that you can never get a job, to make sure you can never own a house, to make sure you can never have a moment's peace. He doesn't do that. But social justice warriors do. They love to push people into the unemployment line and make them unemployable, to destroy their livelihoods, to destroy their very lives. I'll tell you this personally. This is just my personal view. I think a lot of these social justice warriors want to kill people, but they know that would make them look bad. So instead, they want to do things that will push people to suicide. That's what they do. We don't like you. We don't like what you say. You hurt our feelings. So now we're going to destroy your life so that you will commit suicide and we can be rid of you. And then that way we cannot be blamed for murder. That's what these people are like. That's the social justice warrior. She's going to try to conflate this as like superheroes or social justice, but they're not. Not the social justice warriors that I just explained to you.
Oh, you mean that as an insult? But there's just no, that is the definition of what he is, And if all you want to read are, I don't know, books about, I literally can't even think of what would be.
You're right. If Cap.
Yeah, you can't even think because it's all a bunch of bullshit. She can't think of anything because to her, everything is politics. Everything. Even the personal, even the professional, even, sports is political. Comics are political. Movies are political. Your love interests are political. Everything is political. So I can't think of anything that would be, except, we had tons of comics. Anybody remember romance comics? Those weren't political. I mean, by and large, maybe once in a while someone might try something, and these were done in like the 50s and the 60s, when we had segregation. So maybe there was a story about a forbidden love between someone white and someone black. But short of a few things like that, romance comics, they're not political. It's all intersocial. It's all about, finding love or losing love or unrequited love or love lost. That's what it was all about. Had nothing to do with politics. How about some of the cartoon stuff like Woody Woodpecker and Heckle and Jekyll? They're not political. That's not political stuff. And again, and even largely the superheroes, they're really not political. Again, there are morality tales involved. Yes, they have morality tales. That's true. Trying to maybe get society to look at, maybe an issue, but not tell you what to think. Or tell you that this is the only correct answer, but just to suggest to you, hey, here's a situation going on. What do you think should be done? Here's a hero. This is how he's handling it. What do you think about that? Leaving it up to the reader, perhaps. But that's not what this bitch does. She wants to tell you this is what it is. This is how you have to feel. And if you feel anything differently than that, you're a Nazi. That's her mentality, and that's why she can't think of anything that is not political.
I've had a Twitter account. He'd be an SJW for sure.
Yes, I mean,
and that's not a bad thing.
Chris Evans does.
I mean, he's Chris Evans.
And it's like, yes.
Is an SJW for sure.
Yes,
and that's not an insult.
Not at all.
No, it absolutely is. It is an insult. It absolutely is. You do not want to be a social justice warrior, because that means that you are for, in your own way, fascism. Like I said, you want to destroy people's lives because they disagree with you politically, or because they voted a way you didn't like, or because they hold values that you think are quote unquote problematic, or whatever your issue, whatever bugaboo you have. You know, the thing about social justice warriors the most is they don't understand the difference between an actual legitimate issue and a pet peeve. To them, they're the same thing. Their little pet peeves about people and life are worldwide injustices that must be addressed by society. But they're not. I don't like that people voted for Donald Trump. Well, okay, you don't have to like it, but that's their right. And they weren't wrong to vote for him. If that's who they felt was the best applicant for the job that was available, that was running, then that's what they did. Or even if they did it because they said, well, they didn't vote for him because they wanted him, they voted because they were against Hillary. Okay, fine. They voted for him out of, you know, the lesser of two evils, or the only choice other than the one that I really can't abide. Whatever their reason for voting, that's legitimate. And just because you don't like the way they voted doesn't make them a Nazi. Doesn't mean they should have their life destroyed, have their livelihood taken from them. Doesn't mean they should be canceled. But that's exactly what SJWs think. And so, yes, it very much is an insult to call you one.
Oh, not at all. It's... May I curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Yes, he gives a... You know, like, he cares about people who don't happen to be wealthy actors.
He cares about certain people who aren't wealthy actors, people who think a certain way, who have a certain political viewpoint. You see, that's the difference. See, the real Captain America, or I guess you'd say the real character of Captain America does give a fuck about people that aren't, you know, the elites. Absolutely, he does. And he would never want to see them destroyed. That's why he would never be a social justice warrior, because he would never want to destroy them, because they had views or politics or, you know, a social, you know, demography that differs from his. He understands that in America, they have the freedom to express those things as long as they do it peacefully and within the law. And so he would never be a social justice warrior. Chris Evans is a social justice warrior because he doesn't believe in people having those rights unless he deems them worthy. I will decide if you're worthy or not. I will decide if you should have the right to vote. I'll decide if your vote should be invalidated, or if your vote should castigate you as a Nazi or whatever. That's what social justice warriors do. See, again, it goes back to what we were saying before with those shill media guys. The entitlement, the sense of better than you. I'm a superior person to you because of my political views, because of my belief systems, because of whatever. That's what I think. And you just need to shut up and get in line, or else I'll destroy you. Is it starting to come clear now, folks, of how these people are?
He cares about people who weren't born with the privilege that he was born with. And that is what Captain America does. Captain America stands up for what I think we wish this country was. You know, I think the ideals that we have always stood for, but not always acted on.
Right.
And
funny, those ideals would encompass the fact that you don't destroy somebody over their beliefs and political views. That's part of what those values are. Funny how, though, you can't live up to those, isn't it, Kelly Sue? That you have no problem destroying people, telling them, don't buy my work if you don't like my politics. Telling them to go F off and whatnot. You have no problem with that. So You're falling short. You know, you're trying to see, you're projecting yourself as like, I believe in those values, except you really don't.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved. You know, you don't like my Twitter feed? Unfollow me. Magic. You know?
Isn't it funny that she could do the same thing? You don't like somebody's opinions? Unfollow. Magic. Block. Magic. But that's not how it works for them. See, that's how it works for you. See, because she has the correct politics. So if you don't want to hear the correct politics, well, that just means you're a Nazi and you're stupid anyway. So just go ahead and block because I don't care. But yet they don't want to do that because, well, we need to know what the enemy is saying. And, you know, we have to get our talking points ready for the next thing they say that's reasonable so that we can castigate them as xenophobes or bigots or racists or whatever. This is why people don't like people like Kelly Sue DeConnick. This is why they're a problem. This is why they only destroy whatever they touch. This is why they have ruined and killed the direct market of the comic book industry.
I didn't come into your house and yell at you. You gotta seek me out. So don't. If it's problematic, if it's upsetting to your delicate constitution.
Youngblood, Wildcat.
Once again, more projection. More projection. She's the one who seeks it out, you know. She's the one, because she's the one pushing it out there. Oh, I'm not coming to your house, but you are coming into my house. When you come into the comic books that I have read for decades, that I have supported as a loyal consumer for over 30 years, and then you want to come in and push your one-sided, far-left political ideologue views on the characters that have nothing at all to do with that, simply because you're the writer on the book now and can do that. Well, that is pushing your way into my house, Kelly Sue. You are pushing your views onto me, whether you think you are or not. And I know it's easy for you to say, well, then don't buy my work. But again, it's not really your work, is it? You didn't create those characters. They're not yours. You know, if you can't write those characters the way they're meant to be written, then don't write them. Go off on your own somewhere, create your own little works like that piece of shit Bitch Planet you did, and go do your works over there. And you're right. You know what? I'll ignore you. I have no interest to read Bitch Planet. Fuck that book. If you gave it to me, I'd burn it. Okay? That's how disinterested I am in that book. But if you want to go over there and do that, that's fine. But then you want to come over here into my sphere and do that on Aquaman, or do that on Spider-Man, or do that on Superman. Well, see, now I have a problem, because now you're coming into my sphere. You know, into my house. And that makes all the difference, see? So, you know, maybe the problem here is not so much that you shouldn't force people into, you know, you should force people to ignore you. Maybe it's you should understand what you're about and go, gee, does what I do, does that jibe with what Spider-Man is about? Does what I do jibe with what Aquaman is about? No? Then maybe I shouldn't work on those characters. Maybe I should go off and if I don't really care about telling the kind of stories characters like that are meant to tell. And make those characters be what they're supposed to be about. I'm too political for that. So let me go over here and do my own thing where I can do whatever I want with it because it is my work. And then I can do whatever I want and not have to worry about it. There's your answer, Kelly Sue. You don't belong in the mainstream. You don't belong at Marvel and DC. You don't have the mentality it takes to work on those books and to cater to those consumers. You don't have what it takes. You have disdain for those consumers, and that's deadly, as the sales figures can prove out.
Cats, Bitch Planet, pretty deadly. That's
Yeah.
quite the variety of books under one umbrella.
When some of the more reactionary comic book fans, what my academic friends like to call the normative comic book reader,
Notice again, just a quick side note here. Notice that my academic friend, see again, once again, one of these people who is elitist. She is an elitist. She believes herself better than you. better than everybody else. That's what she is. She is an elitist. You're a pleb. Me and my academic friends got to drop that in there so that you know I'm smart and you're stupid. You little normie comic readers.
Which is, by the way, like, such a myth, because
We're all freaks geeks.
well, we could go through. I could go through the history of the evolution of the comic book industry and how this idea that it is that the core readership of comic books is white boys is very recent in our evolution. We have a long history, and that is really a very small part of it, but we have a really short memory in this industry.
So who was reading Batman in the 30s and 40s and Superman in the 30s and 40s? Who was the majority? Who were the ones making the books? I mean, isn't this is what her type always complains about? It was a bunch of white guys who were writing them and drawing them and reading them. And we needed to break that cycle and get more inclusion into the comic book industry. We needed more women and more minorities and more gays. We needed more of that in here. So if it's true that white boys as the primary market is a recent development, well, then doesn't that mean that all that history then wasn't as problematic as you've been saying for years? You know, just like people like myself and your boy Zach and so many others, just some guy, you know, have told people, yeah, that's not really a problem. That's you know, there's always been diversity, and there's been diversity in comics at least since the 70s, at least. You know, we're talking 50 years of diversity. You know, but again, see, when it's the point they need to make, they'll ignore things that they've said themselves in the past. They'll ignore the canon and ignore the continuity of the arguments that they and their fellow SJWs have made in the past. Oh, what I said before doesn't matter. What matters what I'm saying now. Because I want to win this argument. And this argument, if I go with, well, it's always with the white boys in the past for many, many, many decades, and it's only until recently that changed. Well, then that makes it look like, well, yeah, that my working on these books, I'm kind of going against the very people who made the industry viable. And I can't say that. So let me rewrite history now and say, no, it's the other way around. The white boy thing is very recent. No, it wasn't.
But, you know, a book called Calling All Girls that was largely comics sold 500,000 copies in the 40s, you know, like.
Uh-huh. And what did Batman and Superman sell in the 40s? Like what, millions? Like 3, 4, 5 million copies every month? So there you go. The quote-unquote white boy characters were selling 10 times what that book for girls was selling, which kind of translates to what we say today, that despite all the inroads and everything else, the majority of the comic book readership is still largely male and fairly largely white. So the guys who you all say that, you know, they've been pushing away and that, well, they don't really matter that much and we don't need them. Well, it seems kind of you do, because back when they were the force, comics sold way better than they are now with all you and your inclusive diversity.
Girls read comics. Girls have always read comics. If we had more time, I would talk to you about manga and what that proved about the market.
Manga is a completely different genre. Manga is a completely different culture. That's the Japanese. And if you know anything about this, in Japan, most people, a lot of people, read comics. How many people in the United States read comics? Very few, and getting to be fewer every day, it seems. So you want to take something that is completely culturally different from what you're talking about as a crutch to make your bullshit arguments. And that's exactly what these people do.
But there is nothing inherently masculine about words and pictures. There is nothing inherently masculine about science fiction or pulp. There is, and nothing in the history of our industry is inherently masculine. There's not in this idea that.
No, in fact, it is. There is inherently masculine. Western comics are inherently masculine. War comics are inherently masculine. And while you can say not all sci-fi, the subgenre of superheroes, yeah, inherently masculine. It's about big, strong guys with super abilities pounding on each other. That's the basics. Just as in Westerns, it's cowboys and Indians. Just as in war, it's men fighting other men, killing. These are inherently masculine genres. And this is why your attempts to feminize superheroes fails. It's why those books don't sell. It's why those books are garbage. It's why nobody cares. You're creating them for an audience that isn't interested. Most girls, again, not absolutes, but most girls are not interested in superheroes. You know, they aren't interested in physical punch-ups in the name of justice. Pardon me. They aren't interested in that. And that's fine. They don't have to be. If you want to go make YA type comics for girls, or you want to go out and make romance comics for girls, or you want to go out and make any other kind of comic for girls, go ahead. I won't stop you. Nobody will. If there's a market for it, make it and make that fat dollar. I'm totally a capitalist. I support that all the way. But if you're going to go into a genre or subgenre that is, despite her words here, inherently masculine and completely subvert and invert that, well, what do you think the outcome will be? One's going to be a lot of upset readers who don't like what you're doing, and you're going to see flagging sales. And what do we have right now in the industry? A lot of readers who aren't happy with what's being produced, provided they haven't quit comics altogether, and flagging sales.
Heroism is inherently masculine, is flawed thinking. Anyway, we can have a little conference on that. But I think my point being that some of the men with short memories who are so threatened by myself and my female colleagues and some of the books that we make that bring different perspectives, who feel that we are taking something away from them. Like, I have no interest in taking your books.
Except you do. Except you do. And I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. It's coming up. Something else I'm going to show you that will prove what she said right there. I don't want to take your books from you is a lie. She is a liar.
You continue to make, we continue to make all of the books. You can have the books that you want, but I'd like there to be some others too. Yeah.
Except you're taking over the books that we want and changing them and altering the characters and replacing them with women or replacing them with, you know, people that are not the characters that we want, and, you know, not removing all the action in the story and having a page after page of people sitting around talking and eating food and other shit like that we don't want in books that are supposed to be action adventure stories. You know, you want other comics for other people, that's fine. That's completely legitimate. You can have stuff for other people. You can have stuff for all different kinds of consumers. But you don't take something that has its consumer base and then irrevocably alter it into something it isn't, and then expect that consumer base to support it, or to expect that that's going to suddenly become something a new consumer base will support. That is flawed logic, my dear. That is where you go wrong. That's where all your type go wrong and have been going wrong for the last several years.
You know, and I don't think that that's like, I'm going to make the books that I want to make, and if you don't want to read them, don't read them.
And we don't. And we don't. But the problem is the books you make are not of your own making. They're of long-standing, iconic characters who have a history, a canon, a continuity, and in a way, sort of their own soul, if you would. I mean, how many of us have read the old tales, not the current stuff, but the old stuff, say from the 80s or earlier, of Peter Parker? And yet we all identify with it. If you're a male, a white man, you identify with that. If you're a black man, you can identify with that. If you're a gay man, you can identify with that. If you're a woman, you can identify with that. We all know what it's like to be bullied. We all know what it's like to be feeling like a loser, you know, to be out there trying our hardest to make the world a better place, and then we just can't make the bills. Oh, we all know that feel. Oh, I'm being harangued by the landlord for the rent again. Oh my goodness, I know how that goes. Oh man, all these troubles with my romantic relationships, man. I can tell you stories. There it is, folks. We all know how this stuff goes. We all know how that feels. We can all identify with Peter Parker. Even though he may be a white male, a straight white male, gay people can identify with him. Black people can identify with him. Women can identify with him. Why? Because he's archetypical. That's why. He projects things that we all understand. And so we can all interrelate with him. And that's what people like Kelly Sue DeConnick are unable to do, because for her, she can't get past her own worldview. Those horn-rimmed glasses she's wearing also must come with a set of blinders, because she can't see anything except what's in front of her, which is her politics. And that is why comics are dying. That is why the industry, the direct market collapsed, because of people like her who can't do that. They don't know how to do a broad approach to reach people with archetypes that we all understand and that we can all relate to. For them, it's very specific and very narrow. You know, you have to think a certain way. You have to believe a certain way. You have to follow a certain ideological, political viewpoint. And if you don't, well, then you just don't matter. So when she says, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my work, that's what she's saying is, if you don't agree with my politics, you're irrelevant to me. That's what she's basically saying. That's the truth in what she's saying. Of course, she would never say it that way, because then she would expose herself for what she is. You know, and you know, this again, it's just that elitist mentality, that belief that I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you, I'm more moral than you, I'm more, you know, of a better person than you. You know, and that gives me the right to judge you and to tell you what you can and can't have. You can't have the Schneider cut. You're a bigot. You don't deserve the Schneider cut. You're a racist. You don't deserve Spider-Man comics you can enjoy. You're a racist. You're a sexist. You know, this is what they do. They want to judge the consumers of any product. And what they believe about them is how the companies they expect to respond to them. Oh, those people are bigots, so you don't listen to them. You listen to me. You know, this is the problem.